Let me ask you something. Have you ever really, truly thought about what's literally under your feet? I mean, not just the pavement to the grass, but the actual soil and rock that holds everything up. And, believe it or not, powers the entire country. Well, today, we're going to dig in.
All right, so here's the plan for our journey underground. We're going to start at the surface, looking at what's actually in the dirt. Then we'll zoom out and see how that dirt creates Ireland's famous landscapes. After that, we're going deep, literally, to find the power hidden below. And finally, we'll talk about the real cost of digging all that stuff up.
Okay, so first things first, what's actually in the dirt? You know, it's so easy to just walk all over it and not give it a second thought. But the truth is, soil is this incredibly complex living system. And honestly, it's the foundation for pretty much all life on this island.
Think of good, healthy soil like a cake recipe. It's got very specific ingredients. As you can see here, almost half of it is just mineral particles, tiny bits of rock. That's your flour, the base of it all. Then you've got about a quarter air and a quarter water. They fill in all the gaps. But the magic ingredient, the thing that makes it all work, that little 5% slice of organic matter, that's the real secret sauce.
And the star player in that organic matter is this stuff called humus. Seriously, think of it as the ultimate superfood for the earth. It's this dark, gooey, gel-like substance that comes from old, decayed plants. This is what makes soil fertile. It's no exaggeration to say it's the lifeblood of the entire natural world.
So how does all this come together? Well, if you were to dig a big hole, you wouldn't just see one uniform brown layer. You'd see these distinct layers. They're called horizons. Right at the top, you've got the A horizon. That's your topsoil, dark and packed with all that good humus we just talked about. Dig a bit deeper, and you hit the B horizon, the subsoil. It's lighter, a bit more stony, not as much life going on. And way down at the bottom, you hit the C horizon. That's the solid bedrock, the rock-solid foundation of everything.
Right, so that's the basic structure. But of course, not all soil is the same. Far from it. Depending on where you are in Ireland, the weather, the hills, the whole lot, you get totally different kinds of ground. Let's take a quick look at the soil map, which goes from super fertile farmland to that classic rugged bogland.
This chart really spells it out, doesn't it? You've got your brown soils, mainly in the Midlands and Southeast. This is the good stuff, the agricultural heartland. But then head to the highlands of Cork or Galway, and you run into podzol soils. They have this tough, almost concrete-like layer under the surface that makes farming a nightmare. And then there are the glaze soils, common around Limerick and Clare. They're basically waterlogged, kind of blue-gray and soggy. And of course, you can't talk about Irish soil without mentioning the peaty soils, the dark, saturated stuff that makes up the bogs, formed over thousands and thousands of years.
Okay, so we've covered the surface. Now it's time to grab our virtual shovels and dig way deeper. We're moving past the soil and into the world of hidden energy. Because often, the type of ground on top gives us clues about the treasures locked away far below. Get a load of this number, 90 million hectares. That is a massive area. It's the amount of seabed that Ireland has rights to. To put that in perspective, that's an underwater territory more than 10 times bigger than the entire island of Ireland itself. And you better believe there's a huge amount of energy potential locked away down there.
So, just how much do we rely on this stuff? Well, the numbers don't lie. Think about your car or the bus you take. A whopping 95% of all transport in Ireland runs on oil. And what about when you get home and flick on the lights or boil the kettle? Over half, 51%, of our electricity is generated by natural gas. It's everywhere, powering pretty much everything we do.
So, a big question is, where does all this gas come from? Well, a huge chunk of it is actually homegrown. You've probably heard of the Corrib gas field. It's a massive deal. When it's running at full tilt, it can supply up to 56%, yep, more than half, of all the gas the country needs. That's huge.
But the story isn't static. Things are definitely changing. For generations, if you said board Namona, people thought of one thing: harvesting peat from the bogs. While that era is pretty much over, the company is in the middle of this massive pivot. They're moving away from peat and going all in on renewables like biomass and wind energy. And at the same time, they're starting the huge job of restoring those very same boglands.
And this is where things get really complicated. Because as you can imagine, pulling all this energy out of the ground doesn't come for free. There's always a price to pay. So, for this last part, let's get real about the true cost and that tricky balancing act between pushing forward and protecting what we have. This chart right here, it lays out the conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the economic gain. In 2016, gas exploration created over 500 jobs. That's a clear win, right? But then look at the other side, the environmental cost. In the exact same year, Ireland got hit with a €150 million fine for not meeting its carbon targets. It's a classic head-to-head, jobs and money versus the environmental price tag.
And it's not just about the environment versus the economy. There's a social angle that's just as important. All the tax money that comes from these energy industries. That's what helps pay for things we all need. We're talking schools, hospitals, public services. It creates this really complex loop where the energy we pull from the ground is directly funding the well-being of our communities.
So what's the bottom line here? It's that the ground beneath Ireland is this amazing double-edged sword. On one hand, you have the topsoil that grows our food. On the other, you have the gas fields deep below that power our lives. It gives us both sustenance and power. But here's the catch. It's not endless. And every single choice we make about it has these complicated ripple effects, environmentally, economically, and socially.
And that leaves us with the one massive question that hangs over everything. It really is the challenge of our time. How can Ireland keep the lights on, provide for everyone, and grow the economy without destroying the very ground that it's all built on? That's the puzzle we all have to figure out.